Hello everyone and welcome to yet another live coding and chill. I'm your host Johnny, delighted to be here. I hope you're having an amazing day. Today we'll keep working on the Svelte and SvelteKit implementation of the Radiant SAS and blog template. Last time we've done more on the blog functionality of this template. Everything you see here you can find in the description. Click around yourself, see how nicely we've done things, see how mindfully we've implemented dark mode to save people's retinas, see the view transitions that we have to emulate that app-like feel to make people smile, many things that the original Next.js Radiant template doesn't have, but of course it's always easier to do your work based on someone else's work than it is to make things up by yourself. And there's still quite a few features that we haven't implemented, mainly regarding like little animation touches, some sort of flair. Hello Sam in the chat, how are you doing? So today we'll be focusing on the RSS feed functionality for our blog, because turns out blogging is kind of trending back in. And if not blogging itself, then subscribing to individual feeds, to individual creators. And how you do that is with RSS feeds. My favorite tool on iOS and Mac, not affiliated as always, is NetNewsWire. If you remember back in the day, Google had a nice reader. Feedly is kind of nice, that still persists nowadays. NetNewsWire, I do like it. The point is that you feed it a link from a website, usually a blog, but could be anything. And then it is able to get all the items that are added. A very lightweight way to stay up to date to specific content that you want to consume. So outside of algorithms, you've said, I want to get into this blog, like Rock, Paper, Shotgun, or whatever else, they're in Fireball, whichever one of those. And then the RSS feed magic is the thing that delivers it without ads, without anything, without any weird prioritization besides, I want the latest blog post, I want a timeline to actually be a timeline. Anyway, that's a bit by the by. In the previous episode in this series, this may be the last one. And behind the scenes, I'll keep adding things. I did add the pricing cards for today, for example, in preparation for today. We'll be implementing this RSS button to do the RSS feed. And then we'll be looking into the detail page for every blog post, because now we get a SAD 404, and that will allow us to talk about rich text nowadays. Sanity, which is the CMS you are using, they have a proprietary implementation of the portable content format, which most people do understand as rich text, or what you see is what you get. WYSIWYG, you have a creator, you have someone you're building the blog for, or yourself, and you want an editor that works like old Word or Google Docs or something like that, where you just paste content in, it appears perfectly as you'd expect. You change something to a heading, you embed an image, you can see it in the editor, how it's gonna look in real life. That's technically kind of hard to do, but we have a few standards, and one of them is the one that Sanity is using as well. Notion has variations of this too, that I always use to keep track of my agenda, for example. Each one of these is not just a line, it's like a block that could be anything. And this happens to be like a check mark block. Anyway, we'll see how that can become tricky when it comes to rendering, even though most users that aren't technical will just use this. And if the engineers have done their job correctly, perfectly, beautifully, the user won't even know that this was hard to do. We'll try to do it today. And that's about it. Maybe I should mention that we're basing this off Tailwind UI. Of course, Tailwind, the Tailwind team, Tailwind Labs, has a great open source free product that I love, which is Tailwind CSS. Lots of people love it, lots of people use it. They do have a paid for Tailwind UI product that has quite a few things, including a copy and paste component library and templates such as this. The last thing that I've added besides the pricing cards is also this little banner that says that Radiant Svelte is included with JOHNNIFY Premium, which is quite nice because, you know, we all know nowadays that the Panels app with the $50 per year subscription to download wallpapers by famous giant creator that you can support, MKB HD. A lot of work. Love Marques's work for sure. $50 per year for some wallpapers, or you get all of this code and save yourself days and days of setup work. And more, tons of projects with JOHNNIFY Premium, just $69 per year. So, you know, I don't know how I'd value one deal over the other. But all right, shots fired on the implementation of that app. Let's go into the RSS feed functionality now. Hopefully you think this is interesting. If you're building a blog, definitely do RSS. The question may be, do I even need a blog? Depends on the client, depends who you sell it for, depends what you want it for. With the age of LLMs and AI, but also for SEO purposes, like, it's a complicated thing. But you've decided to have a blog. That's why we're doing this part in this series, or I guess the Tailwind team decided for their marketing SaaS website to have a blog, probably for SEO purposes. Then you should have an RSS feed, and it should be easy thanks to this feed library that we're gonna use. So time for full desktop view. Add a timestamp, and what we'll be using today is this feed library that hasn't been updated for a few years, but why improve upon perfection, I suppose. There must be a reason why the Tailwind team chose this, and I've seen it around. I've used it myself, but we'll see how exactly we can use it with SvelteKit. Essentially, what we want, and I guess if we have a look at the Ready implementation of this, you click the RSS feed button, and then it gets you to a page. It doesn't really matter where the page is or what exactly it is called, but it is an XML feed. It is an XML file. So not HTML, XML, different type of markup language that is also quite nested, as you can see. But this is not meant to be human readable. It is meant to be consumed by readers such as NetNewsWire or the old Google Feedly, all those things. How do we make that one? How do we make our blog posts that we already have in Sanity CMS into this? There are a few libraries of this. This is a very popular and battle-tested one that still respects like modern style syntax with imports, not like old Node.js required, and all of that. So that's the one we're going to use today to take care of a lot of the busy work. But where we're going to use this in is going to be a server endpoint. So much like Next.js nowadays does have this concept of having some API routes, SvelteKit as well has this concept of being able to provide a plus server file inside wherever you want the URL of your app to be. And in there, you can return anything. If you want to return UI, then you don't use plus server, you use plus page, and you put in your UI there, your loaders, all of that. We've gone through this. But today, we're going to use a plus server, an API endpoint or server route, or whatever else you may want to call it, to return this sort of XML feed. So let's get to it. I don't know if you want me to click around anything nice. Prove I've done more animations and that sort of thing. Up to you. The point of the day is this RSS button. Like, we click it, now we go nowhere. And I've decided that the route should be /blog/rss.xml. How do we do that? In SvelteKit, it's the same regardless of whether we're going to be showing UI with a plus page .svelte or anything else. What we want is to reflect the path that the user should be going into inside our repository, inside our code base. So in source routes, if this is the case, then we could nest this in the existing blog directory. Why not? If there is parentheses, it's just a grouping that is not reflected in the user path. We use this for the slightly different layouts that some of the parts of the app have. So inside blog, we want an RSS.xml XML. So important, like notice the extension. I guess we could get away with just saying that blog/RSS is what resolves to the RSS XML RSS feed. But for some things, including JSON, for example, including XML, where it's a bit of an unexpected format, then you should specify exactly what that is. And for that, you just, in SvelteKit, you just add a directory that has the extension that you want. Could be the same famously for like .svg or .png, all of those image formats, just not for .html. That's uncommon nowadays. And inside here, what we want is a plus server dot, yes, because we're doing TypeScript. And in order for this to work, if we were to put a plus page dot svelte, it would immediately tell us that we found something. But in order for this file to actually do something that the browser would understand and get a request for, it needs a get handler, because browsers always do get requests. It's going to be a get request, non-mutating request that the RSS reader is going to be consuming. So we need to export for a get handler, which is the most common one, I guess. Get and post are the ones that you'd be using the most. So the moment I do export this, that can be an asynchronous method. Even if I return nothing, I think we will stop getting the 404. Maybe not. Yeah, so we get an error, no 404 anymore, because we actually need to return a response back. And we could, since it's SvelteKit, we could return like JSON or something. We could manually return a new response. Hello world. 200. That's the 200 response. If I type it correctly. And then the browser will understand this and read this. But of course, what we actually want is the thing that we're going to use that library for, the XML feed. And again, to reestablish this, even though the extension is .xml, that doesn't mean that your response gets automatically the headers specifying that it is an XML response. So if we were to actually look into what we got here, if I make this request, rss.xml, it thinks that the content type is the default, which is text plain. You can maybe see it here in the corner. I need to allow my zoom in functionality. Kind of works. So here, text plain, that's the default. You need to specify the extra headers to say, oh, this is actually going to be XML. But this may actually be what the library we're going to be using is going to be doing. Maybe we'll need to add it. I'm not sure. We'll find out. So yeah, I'd imagine that we need to say that it's it will have, that library will give us like the RSS feed content, whatever they have there. Which, no matter where it is, we can return. And then we'd need to specify some headers, which could be new headers that have a content type of application XML. Did the autocomplete work correctly? Of course, what we're returning here is not XML. If I was to do it by hand, they just copy this and see what happens. Nah. So this will eventually work. Let's bring in this library to move on. The library is just called feed. So let's get in there, our terminal, and the feed dependency. However, we want to add it to our web app. We are in a monorepo, don't forget. add this library, add it, import this library, and let's just copy paste the example, I suppose. So don't define this. This is going to be this. We don't have posts, so let's just add the one. We'll get the posts in a bit. Maybe don't add them. See what happens. I wonder if the categories are specific ones. And then feed has an RSS2 method, so that should result in XML. Great, beautiful. So all we need is content, and we're good to go. How do we get the content? We have gotten the content for, let's say, our feed here. So for our blog feed, we have gotten the content. Talking to our Sanity CMS with a query language called GROQ. And I imagine we're going to do something similar. So we have a posts repo interface. And we can implement get RSS feed posts. We should return, I guess, a feature report. We'll see. Like, I think we're gonna use the post image there. And now we want in our implementation Sanity post repo implementation of this. Maybe let's reuse, reappropriate the get features post feed, or should we get the reappropriate the get latest posts? Yeah, let's reappropriate this one. And we're gonna call it. We said we're gonna call it get RSS feed posts. Could call it get RSS feed. Yeah, makes more sense. I guess this returns post snippets. So let's reuse the other one. Let's reuse this one. It's a simpler one. Return them all. And now, in our endpoint, we can still, from the locals, piece out our posts repo. And say that the posts are gonna be weighted get RSS feed here, and we can go back to the example and see what they do here for it. So for each post loop, the URL. What's the URL gonna be? We need to create it ourselves. And the ID of the post. Do they have an ID? I'm not sure. It's gonna be the slug? Probably not, actually. So that's kinda interesting. So the URL, we are gonna need it, I guess, for the ID and the link. This is gonna be like the Radiant thing. But we are gonna copy paste this from the hard work of Tailwind. Optional, sure. Up updated. It's not going to be more than 10 years ago. Generator SvelteKit. Anyway, that's not gonna matter. What is gonna matter is the URL. So SvelteKit does pass the URL object in a handler such as this. And I suppose we could use the URL origin / blog for this, indeed. And we'll see about the feed links. Just the RSS one is the one we care about, actually. So we claim this one is going to be on blog / RSS XML. And let's say that this is going to be blog post slug. This can be the snippet. What do we call it? We call it excerpt. And this is the... we don't have the body here, so let's use the excerpt again. And the author is going to be one person. We'll add them. Contributor, we'll add it later. And I guess this has published that. And the image is going to be the main image. Maybe the string. We'll see how that works. All right. So for each one, we've added an item. Let's see what happens if we refresh. Error. Invalid URL. Sure. Which one? This one? Should be the URL. Let's look at it with our own eyeballs. All right, so that looks fine. Steady. It's one of the things we changed. That could be the image field. Yeah, all right, so it was the image field. So it looks like everything worked. And we're doing well. So now that we understand how this works, let's see what the Next.js people have done for customizing the feed title and all of that. What values have they used? Feed links says RSS2, interesting enough. So, title and description, writing blog, description, cool. Author, Michael Foster, just hard-coded there, sure. The the ID is the root URL. Follow this root URL. But it's not actually the root URL. Right. So root URL is this, the origin. And that's fine. So let's just reuse this everywhere. I think so. Everywhere we can see URL origin. Clear. All right, reserved now. And this is a mistake from them because that's not where they keep their feed. They actually keep their feed on /blog. In our case, it's blog RSS. ID link, so they didn't provide the language either. So let's provide that one too. Not the update, they didn't provide updated, so maybe we could have like a little look of getting when the latest blog post has been published at. Default today. And so this has to be a date. So let's see. Copyright, we've added favicon and image. So interestingly, we do have a favicon.icon, but we do have a bigger image. We have bothered to create an open graph image. So maybe we can point to that one, or open graph, without designing a custom one. There are some specific dimensions for the feed image, which I think are very similar to the open graph one. So let's just reuse that one. And cool, what do they do for each post? They're having a look at whether the posts they get have titles like excerpt and published at, which I think we've mentioned before that really, since we have the feed post query here, should be the one that is doing the check-in that, oh, you've defined the title, you've defined everything. So let's do this custom query. Only the author name, not the avatar. Published at. Do they not have the content? Interesting. So I guess for click-through rates for the feed, they only have the excerpt, and then you have to click through, supposedly, to actually see the full article. Interesting. Interesting. So yeah, let's copy this one in our Sanity post repo. We are reusing the featured post query, which is this one. Let's create another one. Let's paste this one. A feed post query. It has to be a post and it has to be defined, and it has to be ordered based on whether it's featured and when it's published. Which, does it make sense? Not sure. Like, does change in is feature status, should it make it go back to the top of the feed? I don't think so. And also the published at should be in the past, but I guess maybe it doesn't have a published at field if it's in the future, if it's scheduled. Shouldn't be appearing. So yeah. I guess if someone first subscribes to the feed, then you want to show the feature post first. I think that doesn't make sense. So let's remove this. So title, slug, published at, main, image, excerpt, author. No call to action to see the full post, but I guess that's going to be it. So we're going to get them gonna be all of them, no need to pass a quantity. And if we run our code generation command, our turbo repo, our automation and the sanity typesen is gonna figure out that we have a new query and then type it for us magically here. So it will know that this is specifically the result of the feed post query that we just wrote. So it will know what type of fields they have. And I guess in the interface we can not be lazy and say that the feed post is if we omit feature post, author, and just author, maybe just author. Yeah, everything else we still want. And then specify that we do have an author, but it's only their name. Then we should be good to go. Specify that this returns this. And say that actually this returns an array of feed post. Cool. All right, so we have the query. We're getting the posts with the new query now. And for each one, let's see what Tailwind peeps are doing. So interesting, again, they're doing this hard error if there is a post that is missing those fields. They're try catching the error and then skipping it, really. So maybe we should do this in here. I'm not sure if I like doing like a filter with a mutation, a side effect of console log. But I'm feeling risky. And I don't want to do the crazy assert here. I just want to say if either of this is not quite correct, then I want to console log error warn self post here. And return false, filter it out, or else return true. True, not trues. Yeah, maybe like a bit too side effecty, but hey. So now in here in our endpoint, this endpoint doesn't have to worry that you messed up. Someone messed up with the content. And what they want? is for each post still, instead of doing all of that. This is gonna be URL origin. This image helper is from Sanity. We've created this helper here that is using the image builder from the Sanity library, Sanity image URL library. A specific size for the image, JPG, make it a URL. If there's an end, put the ampersand, escape it, I guess. Sure. If it has an image, sure. If there is an author, then give an array with just the one author. If there is an author, again, add the contributor as well, and the date is a new date published at. They don't put it in a category. Let's see. Categories. Doesn't matter. And they don't add a contributor. It up at another point. It doesn't feel important, I suppose. And then they just return it. Don't do anything else. They do have a cache control header. So how much is that? This is like in seconds. 1 year. Cache it for 1 year, it says. Interesting. Sure. SvelteKit also has set headers helper to set the headers. So maybe that's the one we want to do. However, since we're explicitly returning a response, I think this will have the same effect. And we saw this indeed work with when we defined application XML. So let's define the cache control. So we'll never have to validate this. For a year, they say. Let's do 1 day. Maybe they did this because it's just a demo app, isn't it? I guess we are a demo app too, but someone could get caught and validate this. 1 day in seconds. All right, so we've set this up. Let's refresh and see if it actually will work. Well, I guess not. So this for each didn't work. Did we filter everything out? Yeah, my filter must have been wrong. So we want all of those to be correct, right? And we could flip them. Yes, let's do this. Not. All right, so the opposite. Cool. So there we go. The RSS feed is set. And I believe this part of the stream done. Hope you liked it. Anything else that I've noted? Not really. I guess we did the GROQ around then. It was quite fast. Could be a short stream, but we'll do the portable text stuff soon. So yeah, with this, we'll deploy to production if you set your RSS reader to consume this, it will work. The important things to validate is that it has the correct place here, correct URLs. Cool. This is image WebP here, interestingly enough, even though we did request JPEG. It must be doing its own magic. Add the RSS feed. Let's review. We've added the new packets, the feed packets that help us do all of this boilerplate. A new query we've created for the feed posts. Instead of the filter, I guess the thing is, do we want the query to be filtering that you have title and slug and all of those things in a published post? Or do we want the console warn to tell us that somehow we have something going wrong? This is less performant because if you do it in the query, you don't do another loop, but I must have done it for a reason. I think I disagree, but hey. So we've added the get RSS feed method to our interface and then implemented it via Sanity. We do this so you can quickly switch to something like PocketBase or database or Markdown for your blog posts or whatever. Yeah, this updated ad, it's feature creep. We may have a look at it. So the idea is this RSS button gets you to the RSS feed. Great. That also works validated. So this updated ad. I guess we don't really know because even if something has been published at a point, we don't know what the latest updated ad is. And does its post have an updated ad? Maybe it does. So in our query, we could be getting updated ad, if that's a real thing. I think that's a field on the RSS feed query. And then keeping track which one of those is the latest date, and then have that be the updated ad field. So maybe I will leave it as a to-do and do this in the future. So I will leave this as a potential improvement behind the scenes. Let me know if you think it's a cool one. All right, so we'll deploy this and then we'll move on to actually seeing the blog posts. Do some CSS again, our favorite. So if you click on the featured articles, you actually get to their detail. They have a nice image. If you click on the feed, you get those images. If you have the RSS feed subscribed and you click, you get through here and you see everything, because we only send the excerpt as it stands. We only send them this and force them to read more in the website to get the clicks, to get the potential upsell and conversion. But we haven't built this, and we will. I see it has a date. We've done dates before. It has a title. We've done titles before. We have done the author avatar. Have we done the tags? I don't think we've done the tags like this, so that's going to be new. But the main thing is using the Sanity CMS Portable Text for this. So I will also open our Sanity Studio. Let's see. Have we gotten there? Have we deployed yet? Yes, delivered. The URL is correct. Radiant blog date is correct. The individual docs seem to be correct. The images seem to be correct. If I actually try to consume this, is it a real thing? Yes, we nailed it. Cool. So what else? The blog post, the link to its item looks correct. Let's validate this. It is correct, just for a 4 because we haven't implemented. All right, so validated. Let's move on to doing the detail page. So first of all, we'll do a very similar thing to what we did with the RSS feed. We'll see that if we try to follow a blog post or a feature post or whatever, we get to a 404 page of /blog/this. And we did find that we could even create an rss.xml link that people can hit, and we serve them something. So doing more UI should be easy. The only complication here that we haven't come across in this app, but it's one of the reasons that it includes one of the features that I really like in SvelteKit, is that it has a dynamic slug. So if we were to follow what we've done before, here in blog, we'd create a directory with this slug, and then a plus page.result, and then immediately this will resolve. And we get the hot reloading and all of that. But we are not able to make directories for all the slugs that we have, even if they weren't dynamic, even if the slugs couldn't change, even if we didn't keep adding more blog posts and we had a set amount of blog posts, we wouldn't want to copy paste all of that for as many blog posts as we have. Like if it was one, you do it. If it's 2, borderline, you probably should abstract and do something else. But if it's more than 2, if it's dynamic, of course, you should do something else. And what you do in SvelteKit is that instead of just naming the directory something specific, you use brackets, the square brackets, and then you put in whatever you want that part of the path to be captured as. And we want to capture it as slug and use it to fetch the blog post from the database. So now this will capture anything, and we should have access to the slug. So let's copy plus page.server.ts to have the load method here, and we'll figure out the title and description for each one of these later. We won't be getting all the blog posts, we won't be getting all the categories. What we'll be doing remains to be seen, but what we do have, what SvelteKit will be giving us is the params, the magically captured params, and it will know that it has a slug, that you didn't name this ID, for example. It knows that this doesn't exist. It knows that it's slug. This is a favorite SvelteKit feature that Next.js doesn't have. You have to manually type this if you type it at all. And that's not good. Never introduce the human element when you can avoid it. I don't want to type things. So on the front end, we can get data from props, magically loaded data here. it will be given the slug that we just used. For slug, this strong tag, so it looks a bit stronger, thicker. And this will capture like anything here, regardless of if a blog post exists or not. But we will make it run a 404 page if we can't find a corresponding element blog post according to what you've sent. So the thing of note, I will say again, like you discuss it with your teammates, you're like, these aren't slugs, like we're going to be using the post ID here, or we'll call it something else, like we'll use the date, like I don't know. But you decide to call this parameter something else, you call it ID, and then SvelteKit will know that now in the params here, slug doesn't exist. Flipped out a little bit, but maybe with a reload it will know. The important thing is that without me needing to type anything. So it doesn't know what a slug is, it will once it reads better. So it knows that this doesn't exist, and the autocomplete will tell me, will try to suggest the ID for this. Not slug. Slug doesn't exist, you refactored it, you do get the squiggly the moment you change the directory. It doesn't automatically change everything for you, but I guess that's life. But TypeScript will tell you, like it's red, like you change something, this doesn't work. And that's beautiful. Without me needing to type anything extra, I make this refactoring decision, and then the framework does the work for me. Great. And now that I was like, it should be slug, obviously, then the framework is happy, says, oh yeah, I know what this is a string. I have this, I've captured it for you. Cool. So we don't just want to say I'm the blog post for slug or whatever we have here. Let's look at the UI we're going to be taking. So it's similar, like there are a few sections that have like blog and the title, like a type of little heading. This one doesn't have the little gray heading above. This one does, and its blog post does, it seems. So as the date, it has this little thingy, and then it has the blog post title. So we can see how we've done the main blog page, this one. And I guess there is a main container, and we can recreate this. Main element, we have a container element, we have a subheading. It's going to be the format date, and the title is going to be the title of the blog post. We can use the slug now just for these. And there is no lead. All right, it's looking more official already, but we need to get the dynamic data. All we have now is the slug, and we'll use it to fetch the corresponding blog post title from the database, which means that we'll need to add another function to implement. So in our post repo interface, we can create a get by slug. And then let's say we get a feature post, although I'm sure it will have like more things. It will have content, I guess, most of all. If we called it content. Body, maybe? It's body. Which is not going to be a string, it's going to be something weird. So we'll figure it out later. So get by slug, you give it a slug, and you get back a feature post, or nothing if it doesn't exist. So in our repository, which should be implementing our blog post, our interface, we want a get by slug method. We don't want to type what it returns. We've already typed it. And then I imagine we're going to do something similar to the feature post and return it as a feature post. I imagine we'll have a query where we have the slug. As a parameter. So we pass in the slug like so. And then in the end, let's say return post as. But we'll see what happens. This could be null. Maybe if it exists, we return it like this, or null. But, of course, this is not one thing. This returns many things. So let's create a new query. That's going to just return 1. And I wonder how we can do this. There is going to be like a... Well, we're going to copy paste it from the example. But I suppose we can even try this out here in the CMS, in this Vision tab. We could say, we could check and slug equals slug the parameter. And maybe we just get the first one and that's it. And slug let's get a slug here. Pets. Too many, like 2 JavaScript. So we didn't have this, interestingly enough. It only fits the published ones anyway. That's good to know for the feed. But yeah, this equality being the dynamic slug, I don't know, maybe the casing changes something. Did you get all of it? Oh well. Let's see the actual query that they're using. So they call it post query, and of course, like slug is like an object. It's not just a string. It's a weird thing. So slug current. Yeah, we'll use it here again. That would work. What else? What else are they doing? They get the published stat, the title, the main image, the body, the author, and the categories. Interesting. And their slug. And they do this array index 0 thing. So that's interesting to me. But hey, we'll find out if it works soon enough. We don't need to say this is GROQ. Our thing understands it anyway. Let's call it post by slug query. Maybe we need to escape this parameter somehow, and that's why it didn't quite work. We'll find out soon enough. So we want to use the post by slug query and give it the slug and run our code generation. Beautifully done. So now it will know what this is. And I wonder myself where it is. Really. Post by slug query result. It is a single thing. Great. Nice. The body is this weird blockContent thing that also is also known as portable content or rich text, as I know it. Cool. So what's your problem here? So I think the feed post is going to be the feature post plus something else. It's going to be plus the body, which is a blockContent thing. Which is great. But what's the problem here? And I want this to be the feature post, hopefully. But it doesn't quite like it because of what reason? Ah, we're not requesting the slug again. We're not requesting the slug again. That's weird. Makes sense, I guess. So omit the slug and add the body, and then you should be fine. And this is different thing. Sorry. So the feed posts are the same, but we want to add a full post. Why not have the slug in it and make our life easier? I don't know. Now it should be happy. And are we saying, we should be saying that this returns full post. Good. And now that this returns what we want, if we go to our blog slug server method, the load method here, from the locals, we can fish out the posts repo yet again. And we can say that the post is this, and then return the whole post. But if it doesn't exist, we want to error 404. It's gonna do a 404 response. If no post, error is a SvelteKit helper method. So now, if I just do not existing slug, we get the 404, and we can cut things at a different level to have different UI here. Make use of the message here. But if it does exist, we want to return to the UI. We won't be making use of the post of the slug. What we will be using is the title for one, the post title. Great. We want to format the date. it's gonna be the publish tab here, and we already have a date format method, I think. Formatters, date formatter. Kinda remember correctly. My ID let me down there. Yeah, I want to format this. New date. Great. Done. Localize as well. So we're cooking. I think we'll all agree. What else do we need? I guess on the left side we have the author and the categories. We need to style these, and then we have the feed sentiments as well, and then we have the reads text. Although the feed sentiments is only for featured blog posts. But we've proven we can do this. Say rendering everything. And then we'll get to the blog content. So we've done all of this. Take a quick sip. And we want this section here with the author. We have the author somewhere else, like in a few places. So they look the same here. They look the same here. And do we have a component for this? Do we have a component for this? So for the featured blog posts, if there is an author, then we have like all of this. Which we could extract. Those have like some margin top because they love margin top. But hey. So let's see, in our components, the web app, source components, author.svelte. And let's say this TypeScript thing. We'll have props, have the author, so we'll have a name and maybe an image asset. And the image is what? This should be this guy. So let's export them. Level export type author. It's this guy. This person. Can do it. we're getting there. We just need to figure out what this is. Get from here. Great, beautiful. And now, on our featured section, we can say if we have an author, just reuse this. So let's go back to the blog posts. Use the author component, and the author is going to be the post author. And it should look the same once we save. Close this. Good. Does look the same. Maybe we're gonna get like a class. To not have the margin there. Don't like margin top. It's conditional, that's why they don't have it. Okay, fair enough. We'll see about the class there. Let's say we do get a class property that can be a string. Class is a reserved keyword, so we need to alias it to class name. And here, use the CN class names helper. Pass it along. And specify that in this instance, we actually want this extra margin. But this is optional. You don't need it. Cool. And since we're here, let's make this clickable. So where can you click? You can click in the image. You can click anywhere. All of this. All of this. So all of this is actually an anchor tag. Let's see how that will seek things out. This we don't need, but we want to steal the extra. All right, amazingly, feels like this just worked. Good. No layout problems. I could do this in like the more SvelteKit way, since we're here. So now I click, I go to the corresponding one, beautiful. And we're doing all of this because of the author thing we're abstracting. We also have the author here on every item in the feed. So here in the feed, have this thing with a bit of a different padding, so I did well. Let's use the author component we just made and give it the author and give it a class for that specific margin top, and it looks the same. Beautiful. We're doing all of this because our blog slug UI, we want at some point to render the author. Maybe that will exist. No one knows for sure. And there is gonna be like some grid type situation that we'll figure out. Frangalo, hello, good afternoon. What do you do to generate robots text? Any preference over compile time versus dynamic approaches? I just created by hand option 3 like a savage. I just don't find, it depends on the app, but I find for the apps I create, I have the same rules for any page. So just the robots text that I usually have doesn't need to be dynamic. So I wouldn't say like, this part of the website you shouldn't touch, but if it's like under the blog subdirectory, this you're free to scrape. And even then, I would just add that URL. I wouldn't do it per blog post. I'm not sure if that's if there is a need to do that. I know that people have been talking more about robots text, maybe more than ever now that we have the LLMs, like the companies using LLMs, scraping everything and disrespecting robots text and all of that. So yeah, usually I just say star, like glob, everything. These are the rules, respect them. I don't do them dynamically. Yeah, I'm trying to find the use case as far as I would understand it. It would be like, oh, these blog posts, these specific ones, the featured ones, I want to be scraped, but these other ones, I don't want to be scraped. And I wouldn't want to put them in a separate URL, like slash blog slash feature slash something else. And I would have to have the dynamic slug. That's the only case that I can think of. But even that one is like, I can't actually see it. So yeah, I use my typing fingers and write like an animal. Cool. So we also want the categories there. So data categories length, post categories length. Not a real thing. I didn't type it as a real thing, but it is a real thing. Hello, Borden. How are you doing? Nice to see you. So we have that generated. Did we search for it? What did we call it? So in our post by slug query, we are doing this categories array thing. So how do they type this? I guess it's just a thing. Like categories, it's an array of things that have title and slug. I wouldn't have remembered this. Right, so on our interface, let's go back there. We can say that the full post has body, but also has categories. That's an array of title and slug. So Borden asks, you were reading, says, you were reading some articles and found that one mentioned in SvelteKit we should be using context for stores, not the store itself. And you're missing grease and cheeses. Feta is my favorite cheese. And if anyone in the world doesn't like tomatoes, like before I moved to the UK, I couldn't understand them at all. After moving to the UK, I kind of get it. The tomatoes are worse. Mediterranean tomatoes, amazing. Mix them with feta, delicious, absolutely delicious. Best cheese ever. Great combo. Onion as well. Anyway, what about stores and context? So it's definitely one of those things where no one is going to show up on your house and beat you up. It's not bad. You can use the stores directly, but you can save on a lot of boilerplate if you use a context. If you look at our one of our PocketBase streams, I did kinda use a helper method to get the store out of the context and put the store in the context when it comes to getting the PocketBase client, the client-side PocketBase client. And it did make things much easier. So at the end of one stream, I was just creating the PocketBase client on every page, and it was quite clunky, but creating a few helper methods to do this, putting the one client in the context, getting it out of the context, did make the code cleaner. But it's not a performance concern. It's not a leaked data concern. It's more of, is the code readable concern. And if you check hard enough for anything, like Handabyte has done something. And maybe Handabyte's latest video was this one, classes and context, which has a more complicated example. I'm not on the premium thing, on my main YouTube thing. So check out the latest Handabyte video for more info on how you can use context for something more complicated. Handabyte, of course, talks a lot about why you would want to do this. Also, in Travel Pocket, so on this one, we do need the PocketBase client side, so we can subscribe to live demo of this still working. We can subscribe to the star status of all of this and actually unstar and star things. So being able to have the PocketBase client at this level is something I'm using context for, and it did result into less code overall, more understandable code. You can have a look at the repository as well, and you can decide for yourself if it does look like less code or more readable code, or whatever else. Just a quick example here. So in my core layout file, which does do a lot, one of the things it does is set PocketBase client, which is a kind of magic method that is putting the PocketBase client in the context. And in other pages, I have a magic method saying get PocketBase client, and then I just have the PB object where I can run queries against. Again, maybe what's the streams to see the previous code and now this like kind of one-liner code that we're left with, and you can assess better whether it was worth it or not. But for the main question, should you be using context instead of stores? It depends on the use case. It's not going to be something bad, but it will result into less code for you if you do refactor like that. Just the one place that has the more code. And in my case, it wasn't that much code, so I'll need to find this. I must have put it somewhere in lib, I suppose. So the PB client, the one place where I was setting the PocketBase client, I was doing these things to put it in the context. Okay, that's just one place, but someone reading the layout doesn't really need to know about this. And then getting the PocketBase client from the context did look more confusing without this method. The alternative would be to create the PocketBase client every time in every page, which in this case, it doesn't actually create a new connection. It doesn't do anything until you run the query. So it should be fine. It's not a performance benefit. But having stuff in the context, getting them out like this, in the end resulted in less code, I believe. Cool question. And yeah, for sure, check out Handabyte's longer video for a much more complicated use case, because they have a more complicated store that they made up for toast notifications, and not just create this client that it's just one line of code and you don't need to manage your own state and stuff like that. All right, so categories. I was typing the categories. I typed the categories. Well done, me. And now I'm gonna render the categories. So it's one of those. Let's put them in like a span or something. No worries. Cool question. So if we have this, have this, and then for its categories as category, plunk. We'll see what we'll do there. Let's just use the category name, title. All right, bam, it appeared. What do we want to happen when we click this? I imagine we go back to where in the blog we'll want to have that category selected in the filter there. And because we followed standards, in this house we respect the laws of thermodynamics. Because we follow standards, then it means that if we have people navigate to the blog route, but with a query parameter of category is category slug, we should get there with that filter enabled. So yeah, there you go. It just works beautiful. And I guess these are buttons. Maybe they're buttons. Are they too big to be buttons? Not sure. Can style them differently. Yeah, I don't think I'll use like a button option there. I'll just style them as something else. So it's going to be just a regular link and then have bespoke styles. By bespoke, I mean bespoke styles that I'm going to copy paste. So blog slug page here. Let's see what they have for the categories. Oh, they're checking if this is an array and if it exists. I think it should always be an array. And they have a link, and then they have like all of this, which is what I wanted. We did put them inside flex wrap 2 to inline them, and each one is inside a thing. And how do we make this agnostic? I guess we could leave it like that. It doesn't actually look bad. If anything, it looks decent. Guess we could keep it the same. Should we keep it the same? So the border. This is a bit lighter than the regular background. Okay, I'm not gonna get stuck in this. I'm thinking because we are implementing dark mode and they're not. Should I make this like be darker? Is this like too annoying? Bortin says, have I been exploring Godot? And you found the channel because of Godot. I have. And maybe the next live stream is going to be Godot focused as well, because I've made a lot of progress on a game, but I'm going to stop because I'm going to do a game jam for the whole of October alongside work, so I won't have like too much time. But like I have tons of stuff to show and how things evolve. Let me show what I've done since you've so kindly asked. So I am going to put this on hold to create a new game for a game jam and unblock a little bit. But fun, like smoke clouds. It's looking good. Godot is awesome. I really like it. Some things I'm missing, but the main thing I like the most is that it works great on my Mac. It works great with version control. Cannot live without those things. And thank you for saying that it looks so nice. These are assets that I'm using, so I don't have this artistic ability. But I did manage to put things together in a way that I'm proud of. So I may be talking more about this on Sunday. I'm actually going to a game dev conference tomorrow to attend, just to crash and see what's happening here in Barcelona. So I may have a few updates. We may just do a Tory up on Sunday, or we may get into the game dev month with like a preamp and an overview of what I've done so far and where I stand. So what are you doing in Godot is the question. And I guess since you brought it up, this is the 2023 one. This is the game jam that I'm gonna be entering, and it's a very, very chill game jam. Like, it's not like, oh, every day in October you need to work on this. It's from a gaming podcast community that I'm into, and I want to give it a try. It starts in October. Super chill. You can find teams. There's a form to fill out. Cool. Thanks for asking. Clearly excited about game dev. I am. But I'm also excited about styles. And my gut is saying maybe the border we can keep the same, but we can make the background be card. Is that a real thing? Let's have a look. Those Sarchian variables. So yeah, it is card, which does happen to be the same, sadly, for us. And this can be VT card foreground. Great. So text, meant text. And then in dark mode, it's gonna be like this. Maybe muted. Maybe that's better. Maybe the background is muted. Yeah, I think that's what we want. And maybe the border is going to be the foreground. So that also kind of changes. Sure. Yeah, let's say that that's fine enough. Cool. So what else can we steal? Quite a lot. So all of this is inside a grid. This part of the grid, let's see, the part with the author. Right? Kinda interesting. So it starts with the author on small devices and then goes like this. Cool, I dig it. A huge gap, sure. And I guess it's the content that will ensure that there is margin there. And I guess everything will be inside a container. Maybe not. Oh yeah, everything is inside this container. So let's slide this up. Up you go. Good. And all of this is inside the grid. Margin bottom here. Rem to 1 frame. Sure. And I guess here goes the copy. And the featured image. Yeah, not anything else here. So for let me know, Paulina, what are you up to? And what are you trying to learn in Godot? And how come you chose Godot as well? Those are very interesting questions to me. So all they're doing here is just re-specifying the text. And then if there is a main event, then they do this non-dynamic thing once again. Sure. Do we do like an if image anywhere? No. So what do we do? We do have the image asset. So let's copy this. In there, if there is an image, of course, Burden saying you just enjoy the game dev and like to be on top of the news, but you're focused on creating the SaaS, so 100% in Svelte and SvelteKit. Of course, makes sense. Makes sense. And there are so many games that are suddenly coming out, like the new Zelda is dropping where you actually play a Zelda, and it's like, do I have time for this? Can I do my work? Can I do the live streams? Can I make a game and also play the new Zelda? I don't know. But I will try. Yeah, this is always 3x2. Yes, I only use this once, so maybe I don't need to re-specify it. New Dragonades. Oh, wow. I love Dragonades. I love old school Bioware for sure. Mass Effect 2, like the Suicide Mission, was one of the gaming highlights of my later career. I still think of this as quite recent. But Dragonades Origins and Dragonades 2, I really liked, even though they were very, very different games. I had so much fun with them. I didn't get into Inquisition, which I understand it's what many people are thinking about. But people have been trashing the new trailer for the new Dragonades, and I'm like, this is great. This feels like cheesy Dragonades 2 stuff, and I could go for another go there. I would love to have time to play that. For sure. Prompt to Excel, you say? Is that the real thing? I guess so. Is it? Yes. All right. So we have this thing. Wow, it's so big. You only played Inquisition. That's so interesting. And you played a lot. Sadly, I don't know what I was doing at the time. I think the big thing is that at some point I handed in my PC Gamer True Gamer card and I stopped playing PC games. And for some reason, maybe because Origins was very like pause and click, back in the day I really wanted to play it on a PC, so I missed my chance to play Inquisition back then. But now I'm kind of back, so let's see. Did you like any of the other Bioware ones, like the Mass Effect? Baldur's Gate, did you play Baldur's Gate 3? That was my game of the year last year. And sometimes I play some other games and I'm like, Should I have just done another run in Baldur's Gate 3? It happens. All right, so if we have the image, then we can add some margin. Anything else they have here? No. They do have a shadow as well. So shadow Excel MP10. Cool. And if we go back and go to one without a featured image, then it's all good. Never Baldur's Gate. Oh, you should give it a try. There is a time. If you liked Inquisition, you're gonna... like, I'll be so surprised if you don't like Baldur's Gate 3. The old ones were tricky. The old ones were tricky. Because Dragon Age, like the word is like a bit of off-brand Dungeons and Dragons. So Baldur's Gate, which is Dungeons and Dragons, also has a lot of that flavor. I guess a bit less into like politics or whatever it was, but a lot of like heroism, like getting a party together, like banter throughout the party. It's really good. And the tactical combat, of course. I did try Inquisition when it came to Game Pass, like last year, and it just glitched out. You didn't know Baldur's Gate 3? Oh my god. Game of the year. The one with Astarion. And works on PlayStation. Skyrim. Yeah, I like Skyrim. Fallout with swords, and I also like Fallout, which is Oblivion with guns. Oblivion, I think it's the one that I've played the most from that series. I did play Morrowind from the Elder Scrolls quite a lot. I played Oblivion, I think the most of them, and I played the Skyrim as well. They're really, really fun games. I don't think I'll be making any of those for the game jam. It will probably be, you know, a tower defense or like, you know, roguelike, something like that. Something simple. Not something where you fight dragons. Right, so I think since we've done even the image, it's time to quit avoiding the subject and get to the last part of the body copy. I think this looks nice. This looks nice. So it's gonna be a sip of coffee and actually get to the portable text. Maybe I'll do a comment here. Oh, Svelte just got updated. Great. Now it works even more. Cool. We could have a look at my video for the View Transitions API as well and make the hero transition, but I think I will not indulge myself. So having the image fly in, that would be cool. A skeleton for the image would also be nice if you haven't loaded it already, because it is a huge image when you look at it like that. But with a view transition, we could specify and get from this to this. But yeah, probably for another time. We should stop delaying and actually do the rich text. So, rich text. When you go to clients or anywhere, what they usually want is to have a field where they can just copy paste something they have in Google Docs or edit something as if it was Google Docs. So be able to bold things, make things italic, do lists, add separators, add images, very importantly, images without text. And to them, to the users, this is like table stakes, you need to have this. But from a technical standpoint, this is actually quite tricky because in which format do you store that this should be like styled differently? This is a different type of block. And I guess what we've decided, and lots of CMSs have decided, is that they will split like each kind of paragraph into a block. And then it will be stored in the database as an array of blocks. And then it will be up to you to be able to get that data and say, all right, this block is a heading 1 block, so I'm going to style it like this. I'm going to use this React component or Svelte component. This is an image, so I'm going to use that component. This is a paragraph text, I'm going to use this. This is a code snippet, I'm going to use this. So that's the basic idea. And it does allow you to have custom block types, which Sanity CMS also allows. So if you want to have a custom block type of separator, you can define it, and then it will be stored as your post data. And then it's going to be up to you to the front end as well to be able to see, oh, this block type is separator, so I'm going to use this Svelte component that has this style that draws a line. So this is where we draw the line and actually consume this. This is again much like the RSS thing transformation, something that's kind of hard for humans, but there are libraries that make it easier. So there is going to be a library according to the docs that will make it so the block content we get from the CMS will be able to more easily create a mapping to say, if it's a heading 1, use this Svelte component. If it's a heading 2, use this other Svelte component. Let's see if that's true. They are mentioning this as serialization. They have more content for you to consume if you'd like. So the problem is people want rich text. They want to write in rich text, and then they want it to look like how it was when they were editing it for every user. And Sanity has a proprietary implementation of the portable text format, and there is a library for it, which we're going to use for Svelte. So Svelte Portable Text has been updated a little while ago. I don't think it's using runes. I think there's an issue to bring it into Svelte 5, but because we're not in strict runes mode, we can mix and match. So let's make it work. So custom component callout, custom component user info, that's fine. Let's bring in this library. Again, the web app. And then in our component, I think we're gonna create a new component for this. Maybe we'll call it rich text for maximum confusion. And let's say it's going to be rich text and render it here. So we can see it here, and we can say that this has props, and the content is not going to be a string. It's going to be an array of something. Let's say it's an unknown array. And then we can JSON stringify the content just to see what it looks like. We need to pass it in. Right, so you can see that this is indeed an array of block content, as we said, of or portable text, and it's saying, all right, the first block is just a block normal styles, don't add anything. And it has children, and this one is a span, like kind of like HTML style, I guess, and it has this text value. And one of them is going to be an image. One of them is like a link. There is quite a few things that you can study what the portable text format is and figure out by yourself, create your own component that has the switch case to say, all right, if it's this type, if it's a block type, then you need to do this, and recursively go through everything. If it's a link type, then you need to render this anchor tag element with the href that's inside this key. But I imagine the idea of this library that we're going to be using is that they've done the hard work to do these mappings for you and have the configuration that you need be a bit more simple. So here, for example, they just say render this. So let's see what happens with no configuration. We import this, and then just render the portable text with a value of content. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Something. All right. So it seems it's worked. It seems like it's done some classic things, like put things inside EM tags. So that's great. And I think this is an array of block content, and in our type definitions we have this. But what do these guys want? They want it as arbitrarily typed content. Not the real thing. So this is not the real thing. What else do they have? Have the input value here. I guess they export this, so maybe that's the thing we can use. Ugh, they don't export it. So yeah, I don't know how we'll enforce this. Okay, I think this is something that I'll need to debug behind the scenes, because that should be fine. Like clearly we see that it works, right? So let's go to customization, maybe have like a quick search for TypeScript. In the issues. Don't know what that is. It's saying do not server-side render. Maybe that's like a thing. I guess we could stream the body later and then we'd be happy. But oh, closed ones. Yeah, input type. Well, how before I go into this rabbit hole. Oh, they do export this. There you go. So let's say that this is this. And claim that they do overlap and move on with our lives. Cool. But now we want the customizability to actually say that for a heading, we want to use our styled heading. So if we go back on this one, we just give it an object for the components. Great. So you can see that we can't really see a heading. You can say components. For the block ones, they have a heading. Let's say H2. That's gonna be our title component. That should just work. Are there any H2s here? Just paragraphs? Oh. And the components, I guess, need to be something specific. All right, I see. All right, so let's copy this. Because that's the part that we'll kind of want. So let's have in the components maybe a directory for portable text. Maybe. And let's have a heading.svelte. It's gonna be like this. And we'll see if we can switch it to Svelte 5 in a bit. So here, instead of passing the title, let's use the heading from portable text that we just made. And it's happy, good. And we can do the same for H1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see if we have one that uses more features. Oh, there you go. So this is our custom heading. And indeed, if we change this size, yeah, so it's an H2. So if we change this size, you can see it appear. All right, cool. So this is the basic gist, I suppose. Let's switch this to Svelte 5. And I guess this is the prompts. So let's say that let global. So structure. These are the props. Ah, it's given as portable text. It's given as portable text. And is it binded? Maybe? Who knows? Okay, so type props, type them. It's gonna have portable text, which is gonna be this. And then we want to take out portable text. Type it like this. And Svelte 5 runes for props. Great. And then we can let destructure these guys. Let destructure this further. Let's do it like this. And let this also be. And now I guess this is gonna be let proceed by heading. This should be derived according to this rule, and then the anchor ID is derived by this. And what's the problem with this? This never exists. So is this an error with the type? Who knows? Let's just not do this. Let's just not. And now, instead of slots, we need to render children. And I guess, oh, this ain't used at all. Right, we needed none of this, actually. But I guess it's good to have to understand what we're doing with the custom components. Ah, but style is something. It has to be something. Ugh. Yeah, it has style. What's the problem? What's the deal? It says it could be undefined. Sure. Right. So the tag must be the style. So let's say that by default, if you don't have it, then it's an H4. And therefore, it's gonna be a Svelte element. Bind this to the style. This is the tag. And in here you render children. And what's children? It's Svelte snippet because we're not doing slots now. Will this work? I don't know. Don't forget to close this. Ah, just this, not bind this. All right, so we have it now, I guess. Wrong level. All right, so we have it now, it's here, and what remains is to have the correct classes, I guess. According to the heading level. So, what do they do? They inline define everything. Have a heading levels to classes. So H2 is going to be this. No H1s, I guess. Just H1 and H2, that's it. H3 is going to be all of this. A lot of them are the same. So what's the difference? It's just the text. All right, so let's use our class name helper. With all of this. And then conditionally say, give it this if style is H3, or give it this if style is H2, and don't give it by default. I think everything else is the same. And also don't give it explicitly the color. And there you go. Now we have a custom heading. And we are saying we're only giving it for these levels. But I guess it's not happy because we're using Svelte 5 with runes. So can I type this? Maybe, not really. It seems to be working, so it is one of the things I will worry about offline. So for the regular paragraphs, for the normal, so much like we've done this one, copy and paste, and say paragraph. But I think for this one, it's always going to be paragraph, so we don't actually need anything but the children. And this is just going to be a p tag. And this is just gonna have some classes. The classes are gonna be these. And we can go here and say normal paragraph. It's in the block content. So now you see it's been updated. Before it was like this. Now it has the styled one, our custom one. And because we haven't specified the text color, it works with dark mode. Good. What else have they specified? They've specified block quote. So let's do that one. That's instead of class name. And that will be it. Maybe that's like the muted background. Not specify this. Do we have a block quote here? So this is supposed to be a block quote. Let's see when we pass it in if it will actually work. Block quote. Save. Bang. Works. Beautiful. Amazing. What else do they have for us to steal? They have the special custom types that we've created. So they have a custom image type. We've declared this in our Sanity CMS. So if we look at their schema a couple episodes ago, we have a block content schema where we define how, besides of the regular ones, including these styles, great. Normal, it's 1, 2, 3. We do have 3 and 4. They just couldn't be bothered to add them. Fair enough. We've defined some custom ones, including the image type, which as an extra has a alt attribute for alternative text for accessibility, and the separator, which is just a big line that we can add in a few places. So that's cool. And we can define how they are supposed to look. Like so. Let's do the separator. It's going to have 2 values. All right. Are we using separator somewhere? I think so. I think at the end. Yeah, so here we should have a separator. And we can create a separator component basing it off the heading, because I think we'll use the value there. Separator. And the value is going to be something. Oh, the value style is going to be something. And then, according to whether it's line or space, it's a different type of component. Fair enough. So let's do this if statement. If style is separator. Did I have it on the clipboard? No. Let's say foreground. Muted foreground. It's going to be the class. Else. Oh, it's just an empty space then. interesting. So else, just empty space. That's the div with this padding. Good, no children on this one, even. And we can pass it in as a special thing. So it's in the types. So for our specially defined types, we have separator. It's going to be the separator component indeed. And bam, didn't quite work. Did we bring it in? Yeah. And let's have a look. So we should be in this category. Let's have a look in the content. Yeah, it does have a line separator. Did we miss the level? So in types, outside of block on that level. It looks like we're on the correct part. We have types. Yeah, so for the custom types there. Yeah, we should be on the correct part. This one, not happy. And it is called separator, right? This. Ugh. So what's the style? Like I just type out the style. It's line. Come on, Johnny. Line. There you go. It works. If we had nothing. It just had an empty div. It's the same. If we had this, the same. So interesting how this achieves nothing. I imagine. So does this padding do anything? Line. Yeah, so this does nothing. This margin does nothing. Should it be padding? Probably not. But for this one, it should probably be something, just some space. Don't like it, just an example of a component, I suppose. But yeah, example of a custom component. Let's do the image. It's maybe kind of similar to the separator. But are we going to be using image asset? Who knows? Just a simple image. And it's not sure here the value exists because this type that they have doesn't know that we've defined something special for the schema. It's unfortunate, but we know that it exists. And in any case, in our custom type, not children again for this one. the image type. Gonna be the image element we just created. And bam, image. There you go. We should be specifying the width, I suppose. Somehow get the dimensions to make them more performant. Oh, they have lists, they have list items, they have the inline things. They have quite a lot. But I think that's gonna be it for today. Like offline, I will do the other mappings and see the progress of that issue to allow for Svelte 5, or what I can do to convince that this is actually acceptable. I think it's something that the library should change. But in the meantime, we did see that doing the old style heading with Svelte 4 was acceptable here, so we didn't get TypeScript errors. No need to use Svelte 5 for this. Like, we want to use Svelte 5, but not the end of the word. If it's asked for this, we need to use Svelte 4. Yeah, I'll see about doing the rest. And I'll go to the big screen for the big demo, and I think we're gonna call it. Thank you, Borden, for keeping me company and liking the demo. What we did today. So, what did we do today? We kept re-implementing the Tailwind UI SaaS marketing template called Radiant in Svelte and SvelteKit. We've kept implementing things regarding our blog. So this is the state we left it last time in the last live stream. But now we have two things: an RSS feed, so people can add the blog in their favorite RSS readers. I like NetNewsWire, looks cool. And also, quite interestingly, we've actually allowed people to go into the detail view of every blog post. And we've used Sanity's Portable Text and made mappings for some of the elements that we've put in the rich text editor. Offline, I will do more. It was a bit of a boring process. But the idea is that your client is able to use a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get editor, and even copy paste things from Google Docs. And here it's going to save the data exactly as they want. Then it's on our end to be able to implement that block content exactly how we like it. And I've done a few of the mappings there, and I'll keep going offline. But we did the headings, we did the normal paragraph text, we did the image embeds, we did the block quotes, we did our custom separator component here. So we did a few things. There are a few things remaining, like bullet lists. I assume that this is a bullet list, but that's something to do offline. We've used the feed npm packets for the RSS feed and Svelte Portable Text for this one, which has an issue to migrate to Runes and Svelte 5, because we did somehow to do it with Svelte 5 and Runes component, but TypeScript is complaining quite a lot. So I think I will just have to refactor to use the old school Svelte 4 slot style components that export let and stuff. Question from Borden is, am I pro in Spanish? No, I improved a lot in the beginning, but once I figured out how to order coffee with oat milk, I peaked in the improvements since. I understand more, I think, but speaking more, it's hard, it's tough. We'll see, I'll keep trying. I think I understand more because I can speak French, and lots of things are quite similar, like you can kind of guess what they are, but speaking is hard. Well, speaking in English is hard, but hey. Thank you, Farenglove, as well, for sticking around. Let me know what you'd like to see next. It's very likely this is the last live stream in this project, but do let me know if there's something you feel that we've missed. I'll keep working on it offline to do more of the sections in case you do want to use it, and you can find all of this code if you have JOHNNIFY premium if you subscribe. But another thing for Sunday could be building a Tori app. So a SvelteKit project, a web app that you use Tori to be able to have an installable Mac app or Windows app. And the other thing is I'll be back from a game dev conference as well. And I'll probably spend a lot of October doing game dev in Godot. So maybe it's going to be like a preamble update on that. SST must be an acronym for something. Server-side TypeScript? So let me know about that acronym. I guess I could Google it. I guess I could ask ChatGPT for it. Social security tax. Will we do this? I'm not sure. I can implement this in Svelte and SvelteKit. Probably something else. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Fun stream. I will catch you on Sunday. Give me the suggestions and we'll see what we're gonna hit. Thanks again, everyone, for your time, especially people in the chat keeping me extra special company. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your days.